rotting. The lieutenant adjusts his glasses and takes a deep breath.
I thought we decided to leave it to processing. Let's not turn this into some kind of circus.
Okay, so you can sneak out of your room maybe, after he's gone asleep.
Come on, officer. You know what a field autopsy is. You've done 100 of them. There truly is a time for everything, even for yellow gardening gloves. However, they are lacking hygienically. I suggest you get in there in limited capacity. I'll ask you when I need you to. For the most part, maybe I should handle the contact and you take notes? That's right.
The dead man stares in silence as you crack open the ledger. The bright red paper is covered in boxes and lists, describing the condition of his skin and organs in 3 parts. Above those, an 11-field info form needs filling out first. It begins with,
That's you.
The corpse lies there, indifferent to your retrograde amnesia. The next box says,
KK57-0803.0815.
KK equals Kim Kitsuragi. 57 equals Precinct 57, followed by his date 0803 and time of arrival 0815 on the scene. He's indexed the case after himself, not you.
Next. NA. Next. NA. Roughly 50.
The corpse looks ageless, like meat on a hook.
Mondial.
The pudgy mess of curdled meat looks neither mondial nor anything other.
Fucky, fucky!
Male.
Pigs can have sex!
Nor does he look male, with his pregnant belly and indistinguishable face.
We're still going with March 4th, 51. What else? 9. Body identified by is non-applicable. 10. Case number is the same as the coroner's case.
KK 57 0503 0815 listens motionless, with the cargo belt still around his neck. Only one box remains.
None, at least not after the initial examination. Interfering with the body's position or wounds post-mortem.
Don't overdo it. It's okay to be unsure. He places his gloved hand on the dead man's chest, as if in preparation. Your central nervous system recognizes this gesture. It's the stations of the breath. Ecclesiastic, religious in nature, a holdout from pre-DeLorean burial rites. It takes him 2 seconds to perform. Then, somewhere in Jamrock North, a small wood shed behind Rosencrantz Row, Lieutenant Nick Feuerbach puts his hand to the chest of a small corpse, no larger than a monkey. It's raining outside, light drizzle. There is darkness in the shed. Elsewhere yet, an obese female sits in a wicker chair, her silhouette bull-like against the window. Outside, Grand Coudon. The day is turning dim for Sergeant Mac Dawson. Hand extended, he approaches, to make sure she is dead more than anything else. The building is tall, 7 stories wind-wrapped in solitude. Most of the apartments are unoccupied. This was a suicide. The other, an accident. The small one. And so, all across Jamrock, Coal City, GRIH, 42 deceased persons found today. 42 stations of breath.
We should start the post-mortem.
The corpse cannot feel Kim's hand on his chest. It no longer meaningfully interacts with its surroundings. A thicket of boxes and lists on red copier paper tries to answer why.
Clothes. The deceased wears armored boots and white briefs. The make of the briefs is Babrodine, I think. Let's see.
See, it's happening.
Babrodine, yes. Inexpensive. Size M. Color white.
The disappointment is palpable. The red-haired thing was expecting something more lurid.
The rest of the clothes have been removed post-mortem by scavengers in order to get to the victim's ceramic armor. Officers are in search of the missing pieces. Removal of the boots is left for processing.
It would be clever of you to omit the boots altogether, sire. If you are to keep them for yourself, as you ought to, you have deserved them more than anyone else. Patience. After the autopsy, before the body is taken away, there will be a window of opportunity. After the lieutenant has gone to sleep. I hope this has helped you, my liege.
The boot has a serial number. It's E50.100.100. The lines between the plates are in the shape of the alphanumerical. The number is purposefully concealed by the design. Tattoos. The upper torso is covered in a single continuous tattoo, resembling a national pattern. It reaches from the right shoulder to the heart. The ink is blue and white. The assistant has a color photograph of the markings, to be added to the case files as document A1. The photo is taken on the scene, using a Trigat Mini. The deceased has a cargo lashing belt around his neck, tied with a hangman's knot. Color yellow. Length 3 meters. There is a buckle on the other end. Well-nourished, athletically built, measuring 1.8 meters. Generally consistent with age, about 50. Preservation is good. Ambient temperature, below freezing. Body hair is light brown. Distribution is consistent with age. The deceased had male pattern baldness. Hair is combed back, short. Lividity is consistent with hanging. The head is congested. Contusions are present on the head, chest, and thighs. Consistent with stones thrown post-mortem. Low velocity.
Fucking low velocity? You think Kuno doesn't know what you're talking about? Velocity was fucking max. Talking shit about Kuno's velocity.
In addition, there are bite marks on the face, scalp, and chest. Consistent with predation. Ligature mark. The steel wiring. There's too much of it. We need to remove the belt so we can get to the ligature mark.
You got just the right tool for that. The chain cutters.
Always good to think ahead. Now, we need to cut the belt to see the ligature mark below. Carefully, with as much precision as you can.
See, my pig is gonna fuck his head off.
No, he ain't. Your pig's a boring fuck.
The belt is equally tight around the whole circumference of his neck, swelling over the edges like white bread rising from the yeast. You jam the cutters right under the knot. That seems like a smart idea. Yeah, somewhere there. Already they're buried deep in the man's flesh. Then you rotate them to get a better hold. Then a really, really bad smell is coming from there now, and some kind of cracking sound.
Yeah, fuck him! Fuck that faggoty! Corpse fucking time!
Told you my pig was hardcore.
I should have a go first. I think I have a strategy.
He sinks the cutters into the knot, preparing to perform the cuts, with his elbow to his knee for precision. Yes, that's much better form than you had. Snap. The knot is slashed. Another cut and the belt falls apart like a flower bouquet, revealing the dead man's neck and the dark red ligature mark around it.
Here. The rope rises to a point, leaving a gap in the ligature mark. The suspension point is in the back of the neck, on the nape.
As it ought to. This is where its grip on the curdled meat is gentlest, pulling up.
Hemorrhaging is observed on the skin, above and below the ligature mark. The mark is well pronounced, consistent with a drop from 1 or 1.5 meters. Chest is intact, normal contour, abdomen is protuberant, pelvis intact, genitalia...
No! Let's get up and see!
I fucking knew it!
Genitalia is male and unremarkable. No evidence of injury.
The dead man's penis is average-sized, congested from the downward collection of blood. The testicles are uneven in length, hanging underneath. The genitalia is greenish. Marbling is present around the crotch. You should touch it.
Back is symmetrical and intact. Upper and lower extremities are intact, but asymmetrical. There are combat injuries on the right hand, thigh, and hip.
Bullets have bitten little pieces out of him. It must have been excruciating, especially the hip. Before you is a temple of pain that knew little tenderness in life.
In addition, I see smaller, residual scars, too numerous to count, covering about 30% of his skin. We have a real museum here. Of battles, wars. Last item, hands.
His flesh is cold, icy.
Pleased to meet you. Where are you from? And what's your name? I'm only fucking with you. I know where you're from. From Cappadocia. And your name is Il Kobo. What can I do for you, Il Kobo di Cappadocia? You get me, Kobo. I feel like you were once for tenderness and kisses yourself. But then shit went south. And now you're ahead of even me on the pain front. We should do this more often. Be close like this. I mean...
Hands are clean. No sign of injury from struggling. I was. Maybe I'm just not seeing them. Honestly, this stench is making it hard for me to think at the moment. Ooh. That's all for the external. Well done. What next? Central nervous system. I have nothing. Do you have anything on this man's central nervous system?
You don't even have a joke.
Musculoskeletal. Purge fluid is coming from the mouth. Not injury related. Eyes and tongue protuberant. Hyoid bone. Let's see.
With his eyes almost closed, the lieutenant puts his hand on the dead man's throat and begins to massage it, gently, A rotting smell erupts from the mouth. Purge fluid runs down his lips, black and viscous.
Yeah, jack that fucker off!
The hyoid bone is fractured. The rest of the musculoskeletal system is intact. Unremarkable. Respiratory system. Oral cavity shows no lesions. The victim has received dental implants, possibly after a combat wound. Mouth swollen, hemorrhaging present in mucosa of the lips and mouth.
No scream, no sigh of relief rises from the darkness inside. It's humid there. Sickly sweet air, unlike anything living. You feel like you're about to throw up again, straight in that mouth of his. No, you don't. You can keep it in. You can keep anything in. You manage to suppress the contractions trying to enter your stomach. All it takes is concentration. Through it, you see nothing but darkness. More meat and darkness. There are ancient mysteries down there, Kobo. Ask me later.
Hemorrhaging present in mucus. Hepatobiliary, NA. Are you a hepatobiliary expert? Same for toxicology and serology, NA. Cardiovascular. The body exhibits heavy lividity. Blood has gathered in the hands, feet, and neck. Hypostasis is visually consistent with the hanging. Gastrointestinal.
This will do.
Digested semi-solid food in stomach. Voila. What's next on the list? Let's see. We have bite marks, contusions on the head and chest, and a ligature mark encircling the neck. You'll need 3 feels. Leave a 4th one too. Oh, so we inflicted them? Okay, so there's a spin-stabilized munition from a Kiel A990 muzzleloader lodged in his lung. And an incision on the thorax from a chain cutter. I wouldn't mention those. Better not to muddy the waters.
See? These pigs are fucking corrupt.
Why don't you fuck him if you love him so much?
Now, injuries. Head, chest and scalp bite mark injuries. Predation by birds has caused damage to the body. Odontologist does not need to be consulted. And your opinion, officer? Fatal injury by seagulls? Yes, it's... That's right. What's next? So, the scalp bleeds from a post-mortem head injury, a stone. The injury does not have the rim of an early inflammatory response. The perpetrator on the scene has confessed to causing it post-mortem.
At maximum velocity, fucko!
Has confessed to causing it at maximum velocity.
Coagulated blood sticks to his scalp and chest, where the countless stones have hit the dead man. Beneath, the description of injury. 2 boxes.
No, it's not.
Fucking fail as shit, sailman!
Bitch saying your injuries weren't fatal, Kuno. You gonna let it stand?
I do what I want, see? Learn it.
Right. Next. A dark red abraded ligature mark encircling the neck, with a gap on the nape measuring, let's say, 7 centimeters. The hyoid bone is fractured, the cervical column intact. I see hemorrhaging on the skin, above and below the ligature mark. Depth of the mark, 1 centimeter. No signs of clawing on the neck.
Below the note, 2 customary boxes wait to be ticked. The man's head jerks to the side. The ring around his neck is visible.
That's it. We have established cause of death. It's not much, and it leaves much to be questioned. But it's a start. Let's wrap this up. I pronounce this field autopsy over. Well, we established probable cause of death. Some would say that's the goal of an autopsy. We were thorough with the list of injuries too. We described them all in detail. What is there to say? Given the circumstances, it was a professional field autopsy.
Oh yeah, well done, Master Detective. Maybe a drink is in order?
I need a copy of that autopsy form. Then I will drive him to Faubourg for processing. We should think about calling it a day, maybe. The nights are still miserably cold this time of year. You should take care of that, then. Let's talk to him anyway. An officer of the RCM shouldn't be sleeping in the street. We'll figure something out.
Can I help you? Yes, have you got it? Does that arrangement include you paying me what we already agreed you owe me?
I understand your predicament as the manager. However, I feel I must remind you that we are here to conduct an important investigation that also affects your business.
Forgive me for saying this, but your colleague seems more committed to drinking, and... I mean no offense. It's really nothing personal. I just have to protect the interests of this establishment. Good luck trying to use it. All the locks have an electronic component. They have to be unlocked down here with a master key before your guest key will open the lock. Oh, wonderful. Try to do that. I'll have to call you an ambulance. Not until you bring me the money.
Okay, I might have something in my motor carriage we can use when you're done here.
I really didn't want to resort to this. The man is thinking.
Oh, Lieutenant, we're done here.
Inside, you see a set of steering levers, a radio mic.
I have something here we could sell. Look in the back, in the suspect transport enclosure.
Transport enclosure? Regular people just call it the cage. The cage at the back of the motor carriage looks rather uncomfortable. 4 shiny hubcaps are stacked against the seat. Their silver edges sparkle in the dark.
I confiscated these 4 a little while back. We can take them to the pawn shop down by the Martinez Canal. There are spinner hubcaps, frivolous things you put on your wheels. When the wheels come to a stop, the caps keep on spinning. There's no real use for them, it's just for vanity. A couple of weeks ago, I stopped a young man for going slower than the speed of traffic. Turns out he was some coalition official's son and high. That they are. I was going to take them into evidence, but they weren't necessary for conviction. He never asked for them back. Yes, there's one 100 meters south of here. I think it's called Roy's Nest or something. If I'm not mistaken, it should be open late. No, that would be silly. I just... I don't know why I kept them. It doesn't matter. I couldn't put them on this MC anyway. A cop with spinners. That would be outrageous.
He flashes a smile, barely visible in the dark.
As I said, they are useless anyway. I should have remembered I have these earlier.
But thank you. The lieutenant nods as you take the spinners.
It's not often that I see officers from the RCM in my pawn shop. What can I do for you?
His courtesy is not insincere, but he prefers being alone with his projector, just watching the movement of light across the walls of the shop.
Oh no, not at all. I guess I haven't had many customers lately, RCM or otherwise.
Who are your customers usually?
All kinds of people come through here. Locals, travellers, people looking for a deal, people looking for a keepsake, people who are terminally bored. As you can see, I have a wide selection of goods for everyone to choose from. It keeps me entertained.
Entertained? He might be high. If he is, on what? Okay, he definitely is high. Whatever it is, you've probably done it, and many other things besides. But you can't cut through the jumble of sensations to get to the answer. Looking at his wares, talking to him, that might give you more clues.
Someone else came here earlier today asking the same question. I promptly sold her the gun you pawned a couple days back.
What? Sold? This is a pawn shop, and it did feel as if you've met before. Oh God. The lieutenant shifts from one foot to another, alert.
You,
With Kim here too? That just sounded really, really bad.
You were adamant about getting rid of it, officer. Said you were undeserving of a service weapon of the Revachol Citizens Militia. And I don't like keeping guns around the shop for long. Off the charts photon emissions, the unhealthy kind. She didn't seem like a policeman, although she kept referring to herself as a pig, which was odd. I found her interest in the gun a bit obsessive, but I was just happy to get rid of it, and of her. Truth be told, she was terrifying.
Right, so let me get this right. You sold your sidearm, issued by the Citizens Militia, and now a civilian is running around the streets of Martinez with it? You're right that she could cast aspersions on the force. We have to find her.
My apologies, officer, but I have no idea where she was coming from or where she went.
A needle in a haystack. There is nothing you can do about it right now. You'll just have to hope Everard wasn't lying and the Union can track her down in time.
Maybe. Shady-looking guys came in here yesterday, looking like they'd just taken off their Wild Pines overalls. They asked if I have a police weapon to sell. I told them I already sold it. They went their way. It was a trip, but you know, all sorts of people come here, asking for all sorts of things.
Maybe Claire really is tracking down your gun.
Of course.
Yes, we'd like to sell these hubcaps.
Roy takes the hubcaps from the lieutenant and inspects them. The spinners appear iridescent in the dancing light of his pawn shop.
Yes, these are very, very good. Did you defraud some foreign prince for them? Jump-a-mesque banger? No matter. I'll give you 200 real.
No one was defrauded or jumped, I assure you.
Of course, I meant no offense. 200 real for you, officer. Delightful doing business with you. Do come again.
Thank you. Here's the 130 real you need for your bill. Do not waste it.
Anything else you're thinking of selling? Another time, perhaps.
Can I help you? Yes, have you got it? Well? Great, thank you, officer. That's all I wanted. Payment for services rendered. If you continue to stay here, I just ask that you please pay your nightly bill in advance starting tomorrow. The electronic lock to your room has been disabled till 9 p.m. tomorrow. Please pay for each night in advance starting tomorrow. 20 real per night.
I'll take a room here too.
Of course. Always happy to have officers from the RCM as guests. Anything else I can do for you?
This is the door to the room you redecorated.
Just a moment. We should talk about our progress on the investigation. Let's go out to the balcony.
The air outside is brisk. The lieutenant is silent for a moment. He listens to the traffic hum. Then,
Now then, we should talk about the investigation, but I also feel you're a bit hazy on the RCM. Our role here, our rights, our jurisdiction, basically. I have a cigarette every night when I go over my notes. It's something of a ritual.
oh man, he looks so devastatingly cool with that cigarette.
You mean this? This isn't cool. It's an unnecessary trial of will, and unhealthy.
Keeping the habit within the parameters he's given himself takes a lot of focus. It would be easier to simply quit.
Yes, it's been a long and eventful day. Well, we inspected the victim's body, so that's good. It was not easily approachable in that state, but we did it. I would say our initial inspection was very thorough, and we have solid leads to follow up on. Then you shot him in the chest, which wasn't ideal, but we did manage to get him down from the tree. So as they say, all's well that ends well. Being sober tends to help with precision. Anyway, we performed a field autopsy on the victim. We found some things we can really work with. I still feel like we are missing something, and there's still work to do at the crime scene too.
He's right. You could smell it. That something is missing, even under the overpowering odor of the corpse.
Now, as for interviews, my list of people to talk to here in Martinez, I mean. Very important indeed. Well, we conducted an interview with Everard Clare. He wasn't particularly forthcoming with useful information, however. Claire also helped you, how should I say, remember your name? That's a relief. Moving on. We didn't talk to the Wild Pines rep. We really must do that tomorrow. Above all, though, today was exhausting. What's with all the running? You run a lot. Is that a standard Precinct 41 practice?
I have a really good theory about why you're running so fast, son. Just you wait until we get up tomorrow.
It's impressive, especially for a man your age. And in those hills. Nice shoes, by the way. I like the green. Goes with the orange. They're quite limited, actually. The power officers of the Revachol Citizens Militia exercise most frequently is imposing fines of up to 1,000 real for offenses, in accordance with an interdepartmental schedule. The RCM's primary role is to ensure safety. We are not really supposed to play any part in the economic structure of Revachol. Yes, although indirectly, as citizens can always request records from their local station. Officers of the RCM have been known to take bribes of less than the prescribed fine amount. It undermines trust in the RCM. We can arrest people, of course, but rather than bringing someone in directly, it's preferable to serve a station cold sleep. It prevents confusion and overcrowding. You can't. Those who don't show up become fugitives, though, and have fewer legal rights when they are eventually caught. It's about power projection. Thus far, they seem to mostly show up. As you may have gathered from the fact that we are expected to carry a record of our kills, like the one in your watermarks, we are permitted to use whatever force is necessary, and strongly admonished not to abuse that power. You have to supply compelling evidence for why it was necessary to use lethal force. In these cases, your partner is usually your witness. Not a good position to be in, by the way. Internal Affairs handles these cases thoroughly, by cross-examining you for inconsistencies. It is hard to cover for anyone, which is for the best. We don't convict. We arrest and send them to coalition government courts in Couronne and La Delta. The prosecution works off our testimonies and records, which is why it's paramount to keep them. The coalition government, and the moral intern more broadly. The RCM was formed by the coalition government to restore order in the international zone after the revolution. So we did. Now we attempt to maintain that order. No more, no less. Or perhaps it is better to say we were allowed to form. It's a point of contention whether the citizens of Revachol or the coalition government founded the RCM. Silence. A great comment to such a conundrum.
The dying lights of the city shimmer below. Slowly, like luminous clouds, they pass on his lenses. The lieutenant looks at his slim cigarette, contemplating the next drag. This soldier is the highlight of the day for me, he thinks. This little stick right here.
They really don't like us here. And the mouth on that kid, Kuno. It's different inland, in Jamrock and the GRIH. It's our fault for leaving this place to the dogs, to the Union, to the company, not daring to come here more often. It's like I told you, this place is an orphan, fallen between the cracks. We run this city. West of the river is RCM land. It's incredibly hard. Human beings are... But we are in control, and it's worth it. The organization works, our systems work. If they didn't, the city would disintegrate. Me too, but I wouldn't count on any drastic changes in our lifetimes. Yeah, it's getting very cold now. Let's go.
The man is decomposing visibly now. Every hour, he looks less like a creature and more like a pile of intestines. The body is reluctant to let go of the boots, as though it were its last bit of dignity. You're going to need to summon all your strength for this undertaking.
Wow, Kuno's little sneak peek's back for the booty.
Yeah, fuck it to pieces for us, liar cop.
It's not completely useless. You're able to reveal a little more of the putrid polymer sock beneath the boot. It feels like the leg is going to come off along with the boot, but you're able to get the boot to move a centimeter or two. This is the right method. It takes some time, but eventually the boots come off, with nasty slices of polymer sock stuck to even bigger pieces of skin and rotting flesh.
Look, he's skinning the fucker up good. Puka style.
Hell, keep at it, pig.
The legs look like they've been clawed at by wild animals. As for the boots, you can't possibly do anything with them until you've cleaned and disinfected them thoroughly. Yes, these absolutely need to be washed before. The stink is incredible. Didn't the Whirling have a kitchen? These boots were probably left on the corpse because they were impossible to pull off while it was hanging. They're not exactly pleasant to look at right now, much less smell. Hopefully soon you'll know more about them. This industrial gas-powered stove has been used to prepare food for many hungry hostel guests. There are several pots and pans on hand. Getting the corpse residue out of these boots is going to require patience, and also a huge pot full of boiling water, soap, and white vinegar. A commercial pot draws your attention. It's very large, gigantic even. It could be used to make enough stew to feed an entire city, and also to boil a putrid pair of death boots. There is a variety of soaps and bleaches in the cabinet to the left of the stove. There is also a bottle of white vinegar in the cabinet next to the fridge. It's bad with those boots. Don't be stingy now. The delicious smells of cheap soap and vinegar waft up from the pot. All right now, chef, light up the stove and boil them. The strong smell of vinegar forces you to step away from the pot. The water slowly comes to a boil. Strips of polymer fabric and human tissue separate from the lining of the boots. They float to the bubbling surface. A two-course dinner of rotting flesh and hardened ceramic. The boots look cleaner and cleaner. Those bits of human flesh are beginning to look cooked. You can smell it too. Just like beef stew. That's it, chef. The boots are as clean as they're going to get. Steam dense with the smell of strange meat disappears into the vent above the stove. A pair of real beauties. The boots are shiny, hot, and reek of vinegar. Just perfect. You look down at the white ceramic sabatons hugging your arches and calves, surprised at how well they fit. Your movements cause tiny little clicks, like dice rolling somewhere far away, as the plates reorient to your motions. The hardened vitreous enamel, at once sleek and light, adds a glow to your cheeks and a spring to your step. Just imagine what a full suit of this stuff could do for you. It may be a while before you have all the pieces. In the meantime, you should analyze the armor, figure out its vulnerabilities. Remember, this is a highly specialized kinetic redistributor meant to stop bullets. Wear it, observe its properties, see if there's a weakness in the design. For the day you have to fight someone covered in the same material. The bed is cold and not particularly inviting, but it's yours. The sheets look awful. The sheets feel at once coarse and clammy against your skin. The bed sags beneath your weight as you stretch out and finally close your eyes. And then sleep doesn't come. And then sleep doesn't come. Obviously, you're in bed with your eyes closed, but it's not happening. Maybe it's the bed's fault. Its synthetic filling has separated into hard lumps. The pillowcase smells oddly. Smells of alcohol and sweat, and grease. It barely covers your toes, stretching over your soft belly. This is your body here, intimate and warm, breathing. Under your thrumming eyelids, you see a dizzying array of colors. You won't get off this carousel quite so easily. It's a little better. Colors, scenes, and half-formed phrases still litter your mind. Part of you is still trying to solve the case, isn't it? Something to do with, what was it that the lieutenant said? Union? And it's gone again. Your thoughts lost between the slowing brain waves. Your breathing steadies. A great silence washes over you until your eyelids twitch in your sleep and images start forming.
Do you remember the scent of your childhood? You're not kidding anyone, Harry. You don't remember shit. Tell me, do you remember your wife's hand on your face? You know who I am. I'm the bad day. The one where you ask her, and then later in the streets wandering. It's the worst day of all time, Harry dear. And it's coming. She will hear about it on the phone. Reality will turn into a grotesque nightmare. This will be the last thing you did to her. Tell me, do you remember the love of your life? remember the warmth of her thighs, between her legs and in her mouth. That's right, funky baby. And you just stood there, one hand on the bottle and the other on your dick, watching her go. Let it all be dragged away from you. Tell me, where are your friends? Human beings have friends, Harry boy. Where the hell are yours? No, it's gone. 3 times gone and never coming back. You failed. You failed me. You failed Elysium. Everything. The Pale and the Isolas on the surface. The outer magnetosphere. Burning, furious truth. 8,000 years of written history. You really dropped the ball, Harry. 4.6 billion people, and you failed every single one of them. You really fucked up. No, Harry. You were just talking to yourself. That's all you ever do, even in your dreams, and the act is wearing thin. The spots on the disco ball fade around you. You'll be back in those cold snakeskins in no time, sweating up the bed.
Stinky boy.
You're not coming back from shit. Thrashing around in that high conductivity state of yours, bumping into things and acting like a clown? Who are you kidding? You're trying to what? I can't hear you. This is just a word dream now. Jumbled up garbage. The pictures are gone. The bed rises to meet you. A thin, sleep-like state. More glass than velvet, grinding in your head.
So something is wrong. Sleep shouldn't be this bad, this dry, this unnourishing. There's something wrong with your thoughts. Some kind of new type of hangover. Oh yes, party boy, and it's worse than the one before. Just think of the shit you saw. Here it comes too, so soon already. A silent alarm goes off in your head like clockwork, barely let you sleep at all. Time to get those clothes on, Harry. Time to go to work in the shit factory.
Good going, buddy. Yes, wait till you see the one with the chick in it. It's gonna be a good one. You feel even worse this morning than you did last night. You mean, why are you so tired? Too tired and down to even think? It is worrying, isn't it? You can't be a detective like this. Detectives need to be able to think. It's just that your heart has finally pumped all the speed out of your system, Buster. Time to get some more. Don't do that. Stay strong. The hangover will wear off. You don't need to keep doing this to yourself. Are you sure? Ready to live as this pathetic shell of yourself for days? Basically, a week. Let's be honest, 2 weeks. Maybe 3. You won't make it. Half the town will be dead by then. you will be fired. Suit yourself, slow, sad shellman. See how you do without your spark. The door is closed.
Morning. Looks like we can get to work at once. The Union muscle turned up. They look rowdy. We should talk to them.
He won't even acknowledge the stolen boots you're wearing. For him, they don't exist. You'll have to bring it up yourself, later, if you dare.
I completely forgot. Sorry, I had a rough night's sleep. It's them by the looks of it. Loud and nasty, just like the manager said. One loose thread less to worry about, and one big problem to replace it. One more thing before we do. We don't have to talk to them immediately. We can walk right past them, continue with our business.
Good. A power move. Purposefully concentrate on something else first. But aren't you curious to know what they have to say about the murder?
They're in no hurry to leave. They think they own the place. Anyway, I leave that choice to you. Whatever you decide is fine by me.
A striking woman leans against the cabin top of her sailing boat, smiling as you approach. Her green raincoat glistens with droplets. A silk scarf is tied around her throat.
Good morning, officers. I'm Joyce. Joyce L. Messier. I represent the board of Wild Pines, the owners of the harbour. You gentlemen must be from the RCM. I'm glad to see you here. I was dispatched to handle a strike, not a lynching. Anything I can do to assist the RCM in this matter, I will, gladly.
That is good to hear, madame. My colleague will take the lead on this interview. I should let you know that he is recovering from an unusual medical episode. Very unusual. But I can assure you of his ultimate competency.
How interesting. I wish you a swift recovery. In the meanwhile, you have my full cooperation, and the full cooperation of the Wild Pines group. Everything, right up to, but not including, trade secrets. First, you'd have to repeal the Emergencies Act of Trade in Aliments that gives me the right to silence. It's quite the octopus. Good luck is only kept in place by the vested interests of half the civilized world, including your own.
What the ma'am means is that the Emergencies Act and the RCM both get their authority from the coalition government.
You'd be shooting yourself in the foot, in other words.
But I am derailing us. You wanted to know about the strike. I believe the official title is Senior Labor Negotiator. In practice, I'm a grocery clerk. I relay the union's demands to Wild Pines and return with Wild Pines' counteroffer.
And how are the talks going?
They're not. That's the problem. The union stopped all negotiations a week ago, after that awful lynching took place. Now they won't even let me into the harbour. There's a 2-meter 20 racist behemoth blocking the gates. Yes, Jean-Luc Measurehead. Let's say I was not making the kind of progress I'd hoped for when I first arrived.
And when did you first arrive?
I arrived 3 weeks ago. Yes, in the middle of February. The bay was still partially frozen then. I prefer to do these things on site, like the RCM.
But the strike began in December.
I wasn't the original negotiator here. I took over after Mr. Gaumont hit a wall with Mr. Clare, the union boss. Mr. Clare refused to speak with Gaumont despite concessions he'd granted the union in prior negotiations.
This isn't the first time the union has gone on strike?
Heavens no. There have been 2 prior strikes. Both times the union won significant concessions, including overtime pay and a medical plan. This time their demands are more, I guess you could say, aggressive. Mr. Clare told him to... how did he put it? Fuck off, midget. Gaumont is short of stature, you see. Yes. Keep in mind, this is a negotiator Mr. Clare has worked with before, and who was more than fair with him and the union. There are leaflets everywhere, and banners. What did they say again? Oh yes. Every worker, a member of the board.
Most of the workers probably don't know what that means. She nods.
The scabs? You mean the huddled masses of Jamrock, come to plead for work where the union refuses to? If they were organized by Wild Pines or its affiliates, then it would be a company secret. I could not share it with you. Not right now, at least.
It's implied. She's open to discussing this matter with you at a later occasion.
Everard Clare is a man of the utmost integrity. If you can say one thing about him, it's that he always puts the interests of the workers first. Of course not. Everard is fantastically corrupt. I imagine he has a thick, viscous goo where you and I have blood.
If you were to prick him with something sharp, you could see it oozing out. A knife, maybe? No, a rapier.
Oh, heavens, no. We get along just fine. Yet, now that you mention it, I can't stop imagining that black treacle just dribbling down his double chin. He is the most corrupt individual I have ever seen, and I deal with men like him for a living. If there is anyone more venal, more irredeemably nepotistic, then it's his twin brother, Edgar. Yes, Edgar looks exactly like his brother, except for that lazy eye. He also talks exactly like Everard does, and when one's term as foreman is up, the other takes over. It's how they circumvent the term limits, you see, with a funny little switcheroo. While in office, they've embezzled God knows how much of their workers' dues. The Débardeurs Union was once a perfectly normal institution. 20 years ago, anyway. It must not have been easy to establish under the Emergency Act, but they did it. I can respect that. Organised labour at its best, as they say. Then something happened in the local chapter elections. The brothers Clare came and transformed it into a... how do you say?
A mob. The Débardeurs are a crime syndicate. Sad as it may be, we are forced to cooperate with them.
Refreshingly honest, officer. The company has tried appeasing in the past, but I'm afraid our concessions have only emboldened Everard and his brother. And your opinion, detective, if I may ask? I'm a curious and talkative person, you see. Would you say the Débardeurs Union is... Why do you think so? Ha! A real man of the left. What else can I tell you about? I'm glad you asked. There was a woman, the previous forewoman of the union. She disappeared.
Disappeared?
Yes. On the last day of the local chapter elections, her daughter phoned in and said she wasn't running anymore, or coming to work. Ever. End of story. Indeed. The company suspects foul play, but there's nothing they could do. It was a union matter. The point of the presentation is, these kinds of things happen around the Clares. Watch out when you're dealing with him.
Thank you for your concern, ma'am. We'll be just fine.
Of course. How else can I help? Quite a few things, I'm afraid. The information I'm to share with you includes sensitive trade secrets. For the sake of my employer, I have to ask for your names and badge numbers.
Of course, ma'am. We should have introduced ourselves. I am Lieutenant Kitsuragi from Precinct 57. And this is my colleague from Precinct 41, Detective Dubois. I'm afraid Harry doesn't have his badge at the moment. I hope mine will suffice.
Oh, and what happened to yours, Detective? I see. So, are you saying you lost your badge during the course of this episode? Oh dear. I suppose this does explain some of the more curious turns in our conversation.
She must have been suspecting something for a while now.
As I said, ma'am, his technique may be very unconventional, but he is an officer of the RCM.
Of course, I sympathize, but I'm afraid I simply can't share anything more until I've seen that badge.
Hang on. She's a professional negotiator. She should be open to some sort of mutually beneficial arrangement. I mean, favors for favors. A dirty alliance of some sort. Consider this. Perhaps she has been planning it all along. That you convince yourself into colluding with her. Perhaps she even knew beforehand of your affliction. A sudden pinch of paranoia comes over you. I mean, favors for... Consider that perhaps she even knew beforehand of your affliction. A sudden pinch of paranoia comes over you. Easy. Just offer her a favor. Like I said, nice and dirty.
I will be frank with you. If I'm going to break protocol, I need to be able to justify it to my superiors. They're going to want to see something very tangible.
You're in, but expect her to drive a hard bargain.
Reports from inside Terminal B suggest it's a hub for the local drug trade. This is an open secret in Martinez. The Union controls the terminal, so it goes to reason. The company has tried looking into this matter before, to no avail. Perhaps someone with your authority and resources might turn over the right stones. Or you can recover your badge, though if I may be blunt with you, it sounds like that may be a lost cause.
Detective, a word in private before we continue.
Hey. Psst. Yes, you. Word on the street is you're ready to start building communism again.
This is not going quite as I hoped it would, Detective. Honestly, I was expecting you to use your unorthodox technique to keep her off balance and, not volunteer us to be her henchmen. This woman is running circles around us. She might have known about your misplaced badge all along, or she's simply an adept improviser. Either way, we've played straight into her hands.
Maybe this is all her plan. She might have heard about you.
Oh, that would be fantastic, but do we have the time? The world is large and your badge is 8 by 6 centimeters.
The situation might have changed drastically by the time you locate it. Time is of the essence.
You could request a new one from your station, but that would literally take months.
You're back. Good. What can I help you with? That's the man who was killed. I'm afraid this is a discussion for once we've cleared the lynching question. Better not tie the forestay to the backstay on this. I hope there is something else I can help you with. You have? And how did you like Mr. Clare?
Finally, time to choose sides.
Oh, come on now. He has his uses. How else would he have stayed in power all these years? Or wait, actually, corruption. That's how he's done it. Fantastic, worm-like corruption, reaching into the bowels of the earth.
The position of my unusual colleague does not reflect official policy. I hope you understand. The RCM does not pick sides.
Of course. And I don't expect you to share anything he told you with me. I'm not a corrupt worm myself. How could I stop you? Are we not human? Are we not curious to hear another person's take? It's only natural. We would only be gossiping.
Tell her she'll like you for it.
Of course, Detective. Should something come up later down the road, don't be afraid to drop by for a chat. Until then, is there anything I can help you with? Of course, Detective. Take care.
Over here. Let me handle this.
You seem a little different today. Less hospitable.
You are far from home, Lieutenants. This isn't a district known for its love of self-proclaimed militiamen. That's right. I'm not a gardener. I'm a legal counselor for the Dock Workers Union.
Not a muscle moves in her face, but her eyes trace yours, stern and perceptive.
You are looking for Titus Hardy, who you think has information on a murder the RCM is investigating. You want to interview him. That's Titus. Talk to him, but know this. I'll be keeping an eye on you. No strong arming, nothing official. The District of Martinez does not recognize your authority to make arrests.
It doesn't matter if you recognize our authority. We will make an arrest if we have to.
She says nothing. Her glare speaks for her. Could this be the Miss Beaufort that Easy Leo mentioned? The one Mr. Everard sent to law school?
Like I already told you, I'm a legal counselor. Do you have hearing problems? I suggest not wasting time on trivial pleasantries and focusing on why you are actually here. Titus Hardy.
You caught her off guard. Push her some more.
You are not here to chat up the legal counsel. You are here to question these men.
You set the pace and the topic of these conversations here. Establish that.
I represent the Union and these men here. Don't make this personal.
A very minor victory.
Aggressive? You make your living enforcing violence. These people are just dock workers.
So you were spying on us, and now you represent murder suspects. Just dock workers. We've talked to Everard Clare. We know who these men are. The Union's militant wing.
Listen, you moral intern lackeys. You're a mob, enforcing the unlawful privatization of Revachol. 20 fat men in the Occident are stealing it all, and you're their bodyguards.
Fuck yeah.
So ask what you came to ask, or get back to your commanders. Look, a comedian. Do your job, ask your questions, then get out of Martinez.
Strange. It's as if people don't believe a cop could be a socialist revolutionary.
This is where you say you're a bit.
Detective.
Hey, dipshit. You hard of hearing or something? The boss man's talking to you.
What, is he fucking kidding? This guy high or something?
Hey, asshole, up here. We're talking to you.
We're looking for Titus Hardy.
Wow. The RCM sent us some big dick cops.
Real big dick cops. Look at them. Reckless. Swinging in the wind.
Yeah, look at the big dick on that cop. Can't tell a dick that big what to do.
Must be something in the water in Jamrock.
Yeah, gave him real nice big dicks.
Yeah. Anyway.
You might want to start asking your questions now. It's not going to get better than this.
No. I's here. You got business with my boys. You got business with me.
He understood what you were doing, taking inventory of them.
Yeah, you fuck with the Hardy boys, you fuck with Titus Hardy.
Relax, Dennis. No one is fucking you yet.
Yeah, Dennis, calm down. No one's fucking you, you stupid fuck.
Let Dennis enjoy his fucking, man. We don't mind.
Yeah, you're not even being fucked, Dennis.
Easy, fellas. We got company. Let's see what brings the cop around.
Too late. You already scanned the room. You got a pretty good picture. Of the actors here, you could take another look at the tracks in the mud on the crime scene. Compare it to these guys. there are several footprints in the mud, left by work boots. Anywhere from 6 to 12 pairs have walked here. 8 pairs of boots have shuffled back and forth in the mud. Where else have we seen a gang of men in work boots? That's right, the Hardy Boys in the mess hall of Whirling in Rags. 1. Standard work boot. Steel reinforced toes. Number 46. Just like Titus was wearing in his booth, this is the big dick, Titus Hardy, the one with the bald cap on his head. Is it? They didn't even bother to change boots. Putting them on the scene is easy, maybe even too easy. 2. Standard work boot, steel reinforced toes, number 44. Either the blonde muscular guy, Glenn, or the young guy with a plectrum around his neck. 3. Hobnailed work boot, steel reinforced toes, number 43. The inked banger, perhaps. 4. Standard work boot, number 45 or 46. Theo, the old smoker. You think you even see a tiny fleck of cigarette ash inside the print. 5. Another standard work boot, reinforced toes, number 44. Same as before. Either the musician, Eugene, or the muscle-bound blonde, Glenn. 6. Light as air. Same make of boot, but number 41. Small like a rat, shanky. Better late than never, detective. The whole world is dark and the tracks burn in it with strange beauty. 7. The glowing outline of a standard work boot, number 46. The imprints are twice as deep as the others. The weight exceeds 200 kilograms. Fat Angus, carrying something. 8. Another standard work boot, number 44. There's an aberration in the pattern of the sole. The right sole is smoother, more worn. Curious. A missing 8th Hardy Boy.
7 sets of tracks, right? The Hardy Boys were here. That's all? Interesting. Then one of them seems to be missing. Anything else out of the ordinary?
A leader like Titus doesn't let one of his guys out of sight easily, especially at a time like this.
I'm guessing that's the skinny Hardy Boy, the one with his front teeth missing. Yes, well, he did look a bit like a rat, you're right. Do you think those prints belong to him? I could still be wrong, but I'm probably not. 200. This could be the combined weight of 2 people, one carrying the other who's tied up. Let's say a heavily built worker carrying a similarly built armored man. Maybe it was the fat Hardy Boy, the one sitting in the middle.
He might be right. 200 kilograms of living weight is unlikely.
Possibly, yes.
But why?
Yes, they could have used a makeshift stretcher or just march him up to the gallows. You have a point there. Anyway, it's something to consider. What else can you see? Interesting. Let's name it the Old Soul. I wouldn't be surprised if this was the missing Hardy Boy. Wonder who he is. Someone operating a workbench with a pedal? Like a joiner at the harbor? Or maybe a drummer? No, it's not. Forget I said it. We are not looking for a drummer. Perhaps it could be a driver. A driver would wear out their right shoe before the left. The accelerator is on the right. We should keep our eyes open around the traffic jam. See whether anyone strikes out as a potential suspect. Seems prudent, no? A week, maybe? 7 days would fit the time frame provided to us by the caller, who reported the hanging.
It is not impossible.
I pulled last week's forecast for coastal Havashol. 7 days below freezing. The day before, the day of his hanging, was the last warm day.
Correct again. Sub-zero temperatures would preserve the tracks in a good state. The commotion here could have taken place a week ago.
What do I think? A mob of people brought something heavy to the tree. One of them was carrying the victim. They shuffled around, especially under the tree. Then, after hoisting him up, they stood in a semicircle facing his direction. At first glance, this appears to be a lynching.
Indeed, they all stood in a row here and looked at the tree.
So far, so good. Only one thing missing.
Of course, there were 8 tracks, but there are only 7 Hardy Boys.
There's one pair missing from the Union box, the 8th pair. I'm going to say it was our old soul. Yes, I doubt the Hardys are going to tell us who this person is. For now, it's best if we just keep our eyes open. I'm sure our investigation will eventually lead us to the old soul.
Looks like the circus left town, but the clowns are still here. What are you talking about, madman? There's no 8th Hardy Boy. There's 7 of us and we're all here. Or what? You want to be the 8th Hardy Boy? We ain't hiring.
Actually, boss, we've been talking and we think she could maybe...
Shut the fuck up, Glenn! I do the talking here. Now what the fuck do you want, cop?
It has to be good, if he won't let you pursue it. Looks like the lieutenant thinks so too.
So let me get this straight. There is an 8th Hardy Boy. It's a she, and you don't like us talking about her?
That's right. We're not talking about this. This is a private Hardy Boys matter. Nothing to do with your shit. End. You're not cops here. Don't go digging around if you don't want a bullet in the back of your head. I'm watching you.
Good. We are all watching each other. Officer, your question.
There's no point in pushing it further, he thinks. This is already a victory. We'll learn more about this 8th Hardy sooner or later.
So, you're not just here to swing your big dick. You're here for the pretty boy. A real looker, that one. Stinks like shit, too.
They love him, boss. Spend all day digging around in there. Can't get enough of that pretty boy smell.
Funny. But my partner and I have a serious matter to discuss with you.
Evrard? And what did he tell you? That we killed him? That we took a cargo belt from the harbor, went out back, and used it to hang him? Because we did. All of us together. I hope he told the story straight. I hope he told it well. Goddamn right.
No. These 7 honest men have equally come forth. They told you what happened so that you don't waste any more of your time. Are you deaf? There will be no singling anyone out. You can't arrest a Hardy Boy without arresting all Hardy Boys. Do you think you could do that? Do you think you could arrest them all? That's for the courts in Les Jardins to decide, not for the officer making an arrest, which we all know you won't be. What you can do right now is go back to your station and write a report.
No. We'll stay here and discuss what happened that night.
You don't have to keep answering his questions.
I know, Lizzie. Relax. We killed him last Sunday night. Seemed like a good way to end the week.
Known him? We don't associate with scum like that, asshole.
Yeah! Who do you think we are?
Quiet. He came around about 3 weeks ago when that Pines cow first sailed into town. Happy?
By the Pines cow, you mean Joyce Messier, the representative for White Pines? The same company you're striking against?
No. I mean the Pines cow. The stupid-ass cow they sent in to fuck us over. But you know what? Why don't you ask her about the pretty boy? I'm sure she has interesting things to say when you ask her hard enough.
That's enough insinuation for today, Titus. Officer, your interview is drawing to an end. Don't waste your last questions.
Why? 'Cause he was worthless mercenary scum. And he stepped out alive in my town. And he stepped out of line.
What kind of mercenary?
The kind that shows up when you start a strike. The experienced kind, too. Had Cohoy and Semenine written all over him. Ex-Oranese Special Forces.
A live grenade. Right here in our bar.
I can't prove it. But I know he was sent by the Wild Pines. They hire merc shit like that.
'Cause one night, he walked straight up to the mic and said, "I'm Oranese goddamn Special Forces, and I'm gonna fuck you all."
Really?
Yeah, really. Had a gin and tonic up there, sang some Oranese paratrooper song, and said he's gonna fuck everyone.
We couldn't believe it either, but he fucking did, right there. Like some kind of animal.
Wrong. He harassed women, raped one, harassed workers, threatened to kill some as a warning.
There's slight unease in him suddenly. He regrets mentioning the rape.
To kill us all, if we don't open the gates, if we don't let the scabs in, if we don't bend over. And that was before he started coming here.
Yeah, he said it was his favorite joint now. Started coming here every night. Drinking, grabbing girls. Grabbed one of ours mid-karaoke, right there on the stage.
He grabbed someone?
Yeah, this girl's on the mic. A beautiful girl, young. Gets into the second verse of Lover Lake. The fucker grabs her legs, starts screaming. "Show me your cunt! Why don't you show me your cunt?" Then, he gets knocked on the head with a wine bottle. Doesn't even fall down.
Aren't you fucking listening? My man is talking to you. He took care of it. They got the girl out before anything else could happen.
Yeah, me and Eugene got her out. Aren't you fucking listening?
No. You're not getting the name. That's a Martinez matter. And I'm not discussing it with you clowns.
Despite the stonewalling, you can slip one more question in.
Titus, do not answer. You have been forthcoming enough.
Fuck off, Carl. She's gone through enough without you harassing her too. She doesn't need more embarrassment.
What are you talking about? Embarrassment. If someone has been sexually assaulted, we need to...
What you need is to get the fuck out of my face. I've had enough of explaining myself to you fucks. He's dead. It's done.
As you can see, these men can only take so much baseless scrutiny. I'm doing my best to keep the situation civil, but...
It won't be for long, she means.
We hanged him up by his neck until he got real still. Wasn't that obvious, copper?
Didn't they teach you anything at the cop school, idiot?
The autopsy showed there were no ligature marks. His hands were not tied. Can you explain that?
Look, I'm not gonna play 20 questions with you, capo. I'll say it again. We killed him.
Yeah, I knocked him out. Came up behind him and clapped him in the back of the head. He went down like a sack of sand.
That's right, lawman. And then we hanged the fuck.
Make them a bit more uncomfortable first, then see if it all adds up.
My fucking elbow, Copper. Samaran boxing style. Right fucking here. Eugene already told you that the fuck had started coming to our bar.
Yeah, man. Weren't you listening?
Actually, they're admirably, surprisingly composed. The entire room, given how many questions you've lobbed their way. Well, this one, but he's always fidgeting, so don't get your hopes up.
Like what, Copper? How many people have you sent to the Shays? Ever felt remorse for them?
Or send them to Reunion to rot. For 20 years. For life.
But you see, a lawman, is something people agree upon. And here in Martinez, we agreed that this man had to die.
Nothing. Your investigation here is done. Leave Martinez, go back to your stations where you belong.
I think we're going to stick around, thanks. Some things don't add up here, Titus. I've done this job for long enough to know that people don't just confess to first-degree murder. Even if it is a group responsibility, we're going to look into this.
Good luck with that. You've heard everything a rent-a-cop is gonna hear from us, real law officials. You're lucky you didn't get a beating.